Hi everyone, welcome to the next edition of Trades Toolbox from Shake and Speare. Today, in our third video on Google My Business, we're going to be looking at the three major ranking factors that Google uses to determine which listings make it to the top of their listings. We'll be looking at each one in turn, and then we'll have a look at a real example as to why Google might be picking those three businesses to appear on their front page. Let's get ready, let's get started. Okay, so the great thing about Google is that actually they have outlined pretty clearly how Google determines local ranking factors. Now, it's broken down into three main sections, and that's relevance, distance, and prominence. You might have heard people saying that there are a myriad different factors that Google uses, sometimes up to hundreds, but realistically, most of these different factors can be broken down into one of these three major categories: relevance, distance, or prominence. And these are the three factors that we're going to be looking into today. So relevance is defined by Google as to how well someone's searches are matching up with someone's local listing. Adding complete and detailed business information can help Google better understand your business and match your listing to relevant searches from customers. Now, essentially what this means is the details that you have within your listing. If you are, for instance, a plumber in Bristol or a window fitter in East London, if someone searches for those two terms, it checks your website, it checks your listing, and it checks what the person is actually looking for to see how well these marry up. And that's what they determine to be your relevance. Now on to distance. Distance is calculated by how far each potential business is from the location terms used in a search. So that means if someone actually uses a location when they're searching for services, take for instance, boiler installer in Blackpool, they've actually used the phrase Blackpool. However, Google goes on to say, if a customer doesn't specify a location in their search, Google will calculate distance based on what's known about their location. Now that could be the IP address of where you are at home, your location services settings in your phone, so it knows exactly where you are. And the idea behind this is because Google My Business was set up for physical location premises, places like cafes, restaurants, banks, all those type of places where people physically go and visit them. So that if you're simply looking for somewhere that is really close to you, you search on Google, you get the closest one. This is a major factor, but obviously for many trades who go out to visit people in their homes rather than serving from a physical location, it's a little bit of a tricky one, but we'll go on to more of this later. So now Google's final major ranking factor, prominence. Now, if this is done well, thankfully, this can negate some of the distance that we might have to fight against as a tradesperson with their business on Google My Business. Now, we'll have a look at what Google says here. Prominence refers to how well known a business is. Some places are more prominent in the offline world, and search results try and reflect this in the local ranking. For example, famous museums, landmark hotels, or well-known shop brands that are familiar to many people are also likely to be more prominent in local search results. Prominence is also based on information that Google has about the business from across the internet, like links, articles, and directories. Now that's an incredibly important line that we'll come back to later. And actually later in the course, we'll talk about how we can get those links and directory listings for your business to help you climb up those rankings. Google review count and score are also factored into local search ranking. More reviews and positive ratings will improve a business's local ranking. Now this is really important. This is why we encourage all trades to get people to review, but also to reply to those reviews as well on Google My Business. And finally, your position in search results is also a factor. So SEO best practices also apply to local search optimization. Now, this means that if your site is brand new and you've just created your Google My Business listing, the chances of you ranking highly on Google My Business are actually quite slim. You do need to invest in some SEO and get your site ranking highly in Google's normal search results, because otherwise it will be difficult to launch up Google My Business as well. And finally, there's no way to request or pay for better local ranking on Google. We do our best to keep the details of the search algorithm confidential to make the ranking system as fair as possible for everyone. This is why people like ourselves at Shake and Speare spend time working out what are the ranking factors that are hidden from the general public's eye. Google keeps it incredibly quiet, incredibly closed up, and we have to work it out by just testing, and testing. So here we can see, this is the local area around where we're currently based, Bristol. We can see that Bristol encompasses everything from the city centre all the way up to towns like Almondsbury, across to Tickenham, Portishead, and everywhere in between. Now, if we were to do a quick local search, which means that we're going to use a service that we want and the place that we want it to be based. So we're going to type in here, electrician Bristol, and see what comes up. Now, when Google returns the map pack, we can see that there are 3 contractors who have come up straight away at the top. We've got the first one, David Fear Electrical Contractors Limited. And looking at that listing, we haven't got directions on there, which makes me immediately think that they haven't got their address lined up. But it has shown us that actually they are very close to where we currently are, but they only have 1 5-star review. They are tagged up as an electrician. They've got their telephone number. Good start. The second one, we can see that we've got Business Electrical. They've got 3 5-star reviews. We can see where they're based, and we've also got their telephone number, website link, and directions. The final one that we've got, Redland Electrical Services, 12 5-star reviews, but they're not at the top. And you can see how ranking does play a factor, but it doesn't get you straight to the top no matter how many reviews you actually have. And they've still got those website links, directions. Now, if we were to go up to the top, we can see my actual address is around about at the top there, and it's still showing me places like Business Electrical, which is actually all the way the other side of town. That's around about a 20-minute drive from where I currently am based. So distance is a factor, but it's not the be-all and end-all, and this is where we can optimize our listing. Now, if we were to click more businesses, we can see all of the other electricians based around Bristol based on Google's ranking. We can see the top 3 there, but we can also scroll down and see that there are places like AG Electrical Services and MR Electrical who have no reviews whatsoever, but rank really quite high. They're not in the top 3, but they're in the top 5. And that's because they're incredibly close to where I currently am. Places like RD Nelms Electrical and the one below, Dan Radburn Electrical, even though they've got well over 30 reviews each, it's not put them incredibly high up the rankings, simply because they aren't as close as other listings to me. And that's where distance plays a factor. Okay, so there you have it. The 3 major ranking factors for Google to determine which of their chosen listings get onto the front page: distance, relevance, and prominence. We're going to be exploring how to optimize your listing to maximize that prominence to try and turn down some of the distance factors later on in the next video. Looking forward to seeing you there. This has been another episode of Trades Toolbox from Shake and Speare. Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye bye.